Good evening, folks, and welcome to the Six Figure Developer live stream channel. Tonight we are going to do some live coding on Live Coding Wednesday, working on Clayton's Blazor game engine. Last week we worked on Ash's React project, Lift Fit Log, the fitness trainer. And I think next week we'll probably pick Speaker Meet back up. But Clayton, you want to fill us in on where we left off with Blazor game engine last time?
Sure. It's been a couple weeks, but we were at the point we had implemented some simple physics, and we had gotten the game to where it would remove a brick. We were discussing adding proper levels and then extracting that level into some kind of file or something. But I kind of want to take a break from that today and instead try to convert the game engine from canvas graphics to Webgl.
Ooh.
Yeah, ooh. I found some tutorials, and getting the Webgl context is actually pretty simple. Same with clearing the screen and stuff, so I think I can handle those. And then I found a tutorial for implementing draw image. See, goes away. For implementing draw image, which is really the only thing that we're using. We're just drawing images. So I think that we could effectively replace Webgl and maybe even still have time to do other stuff today.
Ooh.
So I would like to try and start with that. Plus, I think it'll be fun to write a Webgl framework instead of a canvas context framework.
Yeah. So Wes says you look really tan.
Why, thank you. I do live in Florida. No, so my internet router went completely out. Was Tuesday, yesterday, and we had to go and buy an emergency router. And I forgot that the two key lights that I used to light myself were on the network until I tried to turn them on, and they wouldn't turn on. So on the other router, on the other router, it took, I do not want to convert it to Xamarin. On the other router, it took anywhere between 5 minutes and an hour or two to get the lights working. So I'm just not going to deal with it right now. I will look like an Oompa Loompa for a little bit. It'll be okay. Anyway, so we're gonna work on converting the Blazor game JavaScript file into a Webgl library as opposed to a canvas library. So the first step, based on this tutorial that I found right here, is everything's basically the same except for we're going to get canvas Webgl instead of canvas 2D.
And chat, I just want everybody to pinpoint the time that at 8:05 or so, Clayton said we should be able to do this and more by the end of the stream. Just
fingers crossed.
Putting that out there.
So the only tricky bits get down here where we start actually using the Webgl API. But I don't think that it will be too bad. So first things first, I've got to convert this to Webgl. And then I want to go down to clear. See, so this will be pretty easy. Instead of all that mess, we just say context dot clear color. Oh, it's even got IntelliSense. I love it. So we want to clear to the color specified. How were we dealing with that a minute ago? RGBA color RGB. Okay, so it is the value. So we have to convert that. Webgl doesn't understand 8 bits. It only understands 0 to 1. So everything is a 0 to 1 value, with 1 being, well, in our case, 255, and 0 being 0. So we have to convert color R to A, 0 to 1 value, G, same in B, and A, I guess, as well. We're already converting A, so this should actually be pretty easy. I'll leave this code up so that we can reference that in a second, and then I don't have to think. Clear color. Okay, so we got, I'm going to assume they're in the same order because it's not telling me. So it would be color R divided by 255, color B divided by 255, no, RGB. Color B divided by 255, and color A divided by 255. Okay, and then we just say context clear, and we're going to clear using the color that we just set, which will be the context color buffer bit. Bit, not one. Okay, that should actually clear to our cornflower blue, like we were doing before, or gray in this case, maybe. Whatever color we told it to clear to.
So that color buffer bit is just a property.
Yeah, it's just
there,
it
and the clear
references
colors
this thing,
is setting
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I can't believe you're using double equal and not triple equal. What's wrong with you?
What, where?
Line 51.
It's fine.
Sure.
Everything is fine. I don't like this, but whatever. It is what it is. Okay, so let's run. I expect errors. I expect everything to fail except for the clear.
Oh, I expect everything to fail.
Well, then again, oh, we have to.
It seems to be working.
Yeah, cache.
That's why it worked, because everything was cached.
Yeah, oh, that got us a few episodes ago. That got us with the it totally works, and then the next week, nope, not at all. Okay, so it does look like we're clearing, and we're not getting any errors, but nothing else is happening. But we are able to clear, otherwise we wouldn't have this color here. So that works. Okay, that was actually pretty simple. So load content is something we're going to have to deal with. That shouldn't actually be affected, the play audio. Register content we will have to deal with. Draw texture we will have to deal with. Draw sprite. I think all this get back buffer stuff is null and void, right? That's some of the stuff that didn't work.
Yes, that was not working, and so you were not really using it, I believe.
Key state, and then we're not using filter image, and because we are switching to WebGL, we will not need filter image.
Yeah.
There's a different way to do it. So,
Hey, Blazor Mr. Magoo is here and playing the drop game with us.
hey, how's it going, Mr. Magoo? All right. Okay, so I think if I switch over to this other tutorial, so for anyone who was curious, it's webglfundamentals.org.
I can throw a...
Yeah, drop that in chat.
Yeah.
Possibly. I'll look it up and I'll get it there.
Okay. Yeah, and it's just the WebGL implementing draw image. So they're doing pretty much exactly what I want. So the first step that they have is we need to make a shader. So I don't know how to apply the shaders. Let's see what we got. Okay, so they've got a draw image function. So we'll just come down here to draw... What is the difference between draw texture and draw sprite? Ah, texture was the colored one, right? It's the one that we were tinting, right? So I don't think we're actually using that one now.
And this is why our projects rarely make a lot of progress. 'Cause, hey, what we had was working with Canvas. Yeah, let's
Let's change it.
swap it out with WebGL. It's fine.
It's better to switch to WebGL now where I don't have very much JavaScript than it would be to switch later when I have a lot more JavaScript.
Clayton, could you show me what that URL was?
Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Magoo.
I can copy it
I'm
and
not
paste
good
it
at the
and stick it
drop
in.
either.
Yeah.
chat.
If you just put it in our chat or any chat, that'd be
There,
great.
it's in the chat.
Boom. Perfect.
Ta-da.
All right,
Thank you.
so I disagree with John. I think it just takes practice. You just got to keep dropping.
Like it's hot.
Like it's, yeah. I do think I'm gonna get distracted
Freaking Ward's here
because I
saying
don't know how to do
JavaScript all the
shaders.
things.
But anyway, so draw image. I am curious how much I am using certain things. So let's see how often I'm using draw sprite. Well, once. Twice. 3 times a lady.
You beat me to it. I was muted.
Okay, so a few times. And yeah, Yep. And then how often are we using draw texture?
I just
We're using
hydrated
it, we're
board.
using it right there. So we do have it available.
Hydrate.
Hydrate.
Do the thing.
Okay, so if source rectangle has a value, then we're using draw sprite. Otherwise, we're using draw texture.
Ward, if you keep using all your points
Okay.
for hydrate, you're never going to get that code review.
Okay, so we need to do something for both of them. Let's go back to here. We'll just start with one, and then it should be pretty easy to do the other. I feel like draw texture might be used more frequently. We'll find out. All right. Okay. So
I still don't know what the cheer bits does, but whatever.
I was just having fun with it.
it puts money in the account. Is what it does.
Sweet.
You're welcome.
Okay, so he's got this draw image, which takes in a texture width, a texture height, a distance x, or a destination x, and a destination y. So we have name, which is going to be our is the reference to our texture. So that would be content is going to be our texture. And then yeah, these things are completely different. So I'll just make a new thing. ns dot draw image texture width, texture height, destination X, destination Y. Okay.
Texture width, texture heights. I mean, I know that you're following their
So in
API.
Yeah, in OpenGL, texture, the actual texture does not have a width and a height. So you need to get those from somewhere.
Yeah, I was just thinking. But you're going to call theirs. So your draw image though doesn't need to match theirs. So that might be a good idea to put texture width and height on that texture and pass it in.
Right. I'm copying
But
and
that's
then
fine.
and then refactoring, because I don't know what any of this does.
Fair enough.
Texture 2D, and then the texture. Okay, so we're binding the texture. Then this person has one of these things. Okay, for expediency, I hate to do this, because I'd prefer to like walk through it and understand everything. Okay, so context. Now it has use program. Program is going to be you can't see them. Program is going to be these shaders. When you have a vertex shader and a fragment shader together, that is a shader program. So that's where program is being put or coming from. So let's pop this open, and we'll pop open the orthographic 3D. Textures, see fanciness going on? Okay. Why did it jump down to there instead of being up at the top? Okay, so first things first, we need to figure out what to do with these textures, or these shaders. So it just says program. Where does program come from? Maybe that's here. The first started with fundamentals, and the previous about 2D matrices. So okay, let's start with fundamentals. And I'm just looking for shaders. Okay, so here's a shader, and don't know what that is. Shader, canvas. That's a shader. It even has the thing there. And then, okay, so here's a vertex shader, there's a fragment shader. They are just little scripty bits. Create shader. Type shader source. Source would be vertex shader source, and okay. All right. So then vertex shader, create shader. Yeah, fragment shader. Create program. The context, the shader, and the fragment shader. And that's where program is coming from. Okay. So then we need over here to have we can say ns dot vertex shader equals I can't type. There we go. Function, and then it's just we'll just stick it in there. All of it. Why don't I just do that? Okay. Vertex shader, and then the same thing for fragment shader. Okay. And then get back. Nope, that's the wrong one. Over to here.
You need another one for create the program, I think.
Yeah. I gotta get around to that. So we've got to create the shader, which is this thing.
Yep.
That doesn't actually need to be on the...
I was gonna...
Where am I putting my normal functions? I don't have any yet. Let's put them at the bottom. Just paste. Except for this would be... yeah, I guess it doesn't matter. Type and source. Okay. So like that. And then... that'll create the shader. And then we have... Here's our shaders. And then... Here is how we would create those. And then we need a program. So now we've got a program. Could, anyway, have a program.
Mm-hmm.
Constant, or whatever. Refactor all the things.
Seems like poor name. I mean, I know this is not yours, but
What's the poor name?
the create program. Like I can kind of understand shader, and then
I think program is a Webgl, or sorry, an OpenGL term.
OpenGL
I think
term.
It's industry. I
That's a poor
agree.
name.
I think it's a poor.
I mean, maybe it's just my unfamiliarness with the industry. That's definitely within the realm of possibility. So
Okay, so we need to create 2 shaders, and then make a program from the 2 shaders, and we can do that. Let's just assume that we are going to do that pretty much right after we initialize and we have the context. Because why not? So we would say var Vertex Shader equals create shader, and var fragment shader equals create shader. We'll pass the context into both of them. The type, so this would be a context dot vertex. Nope, got the wrong thing. Vertex underscore shader fragment underscore shader.
So Blazor Mr. Magoo is cheating now, I can see.
There we go. And fragment shader, and then we're going to pass in the source, which is going to be ns dot vertex shader and ns dot fragment shader. Okay, and then we're going to program equals and we'll say create program using the context, the vertex shader, and the fragment shader. Okay, fragment shader. Okay, so now we have program. We need to make a spot for it. Okay, so that gives us our shader configuration for the moment. Except for we need to populate these down here with the information from the draw image tutorial, which is this one. So the vertex shader will be this. That doesn't feel right. Does this have to be...
A
Do I need
nameless nameless coder. Welcome.
Do I need to do
Hydrate.
something like this? I think I
Hydrate.
need to do something like that. So let's do that. So we'll do.
Clayton is busy breaking what was working
Of course.
of the Blazor game engine project, the port of monogame to Blazor, swapping out Canvas for WebGL.
Var.
Ash, do you need any? You're muted. Do you need any water or chips or anything?
No, actually, right now I'm good. I do have. I managed to bring beverages for myself, as well as dinner for myself as well. So if you see me dive off screen,
Did you bring enough for everyone?
yeah, you're welcome. Here, I don't know how I can deliver it to you, but
Well, I was thinking you need to deliver to Nameless Coder.
I mean, more than happy to. How do I do that?
I don't know.
Isn't that what got like? I mean, I think that was a problem that they were trying to solve in Half-Life or something like that, where you could like deliver prop things and transport them to Half-Life 2, and then all of a sudden,
I don't know.
the world ripped open and
right?
bad things happened.
I think that might have been the one that I was never actually able to get out of the first room you wake up in.
Type is a not.js.
Blazor Mr. Magoo has a tasty taco.
Nice.
I do not. I had some noodles and cheese earlier. And a Sprite.
I have a toasted cheese sandwich and some tomato soup.
Lovely.
How do I want to implement this?
We're basically here for moral support for Clayton at the moment.
It's true.
Wes had a pizza from Flatbread and Butter.
Oh,
I don't know what is flatbread and butter at an establishment, or is that I'm confused.
I'm also highly impressed that Clayton is able to get negative 7% on his Encrunch progress.
Talent. Just raw talent.
It's pretty consistent too.
Yes, yes, it is.
-7, 0, complete.
Complete.
See what happens when you remove the plastic from the heat sink of your CPU? It just rockets through there. Oh, Flatbread and Butter is an establishment in St. Pete. You didn't go there, though. You had it delivered, didn't you? You never leave the house, do you, Wes? You just have donuts and cookies delivered all the time.
So if we have that, and then
Called it.
turn script,
There's no reason to leave the house.
there really is.
Although I took the kid down to the park and we kicked the soccer ball and we played in the volleyball sand pit. It was great.
We actually saw lawn for the first time in several weeks. It warmed up enough to melt the snow.
Was it green or just kind of brown?
Yeah, it's kind of like puke brown and wet.
Okay, script type not JS. Inner text would now be whatever in the world is in this one.
My wife took the kids to the playground, and it was quite packed, she said. So everyone had the same idea. Like, we had a warm day in February. Everyone go to the playground.
Clayton, is there anything that we can do to help or just...
I mean,
What
if
are you?
this is
What
a
is?
if this is an absolute terrible way to do this, then letting me know would be good. So
It doesn't look good.
well, so we have to have these shader programs or applications, and they are literally in a different language. They're in GLGS or GSGL, GEGL. I don't know. They're in a OpenGL specific shading language. GLGS, GL shader language, GLS.
I think he's stuck in a loop.
Anyway, it's OpenGL shader language. And in order to add them to the project, to the application here, they need to be added as script tags, right? So they've got a script. I don't care about the ID. They have a type not JS because they're not JS, and then they have this stuff.
But you should care about the ID.
But I really don't.
Okay.
I'm just.
I don't either.
It's just a shader. I don't. Now, if I had multiple shaders, then I might care about something.
I guess they only use that. So they only use the ID to grab it.
Right.
And since you already have it, you don't need to
I can
grab
do
it.
this to distinguish between the different shaders that I might use.
Yeah. Roger Dodger.
Not S. Oh, wrong. 2D. 2D. I want to thank John for pointing out that I said that this would get done in a timely manner before we got started. Okay, so then use program, and program now should exist, or at least there's a chance that it might exist.
You got a typo in Vertex.
It does not. Where?
Scroll up a little bit more. Right there, line 33.
You talking about this mess? That right there?
Yeah, is it Vertex or is it Vertex?
It's whatever I type.
Okay, fair enough.
It's Vertex. But you can see that I messed it up everywhere. I was consistent in
At
getting
least
it.
you were
You
consistent.
still have one.
Yes.
It goes into create program.
Yeah, I know. It's all over the place. I just got.
Okay.
I've gotten
over.
my Vertex all over the place.
Alt up. Alt up.
There. Okay.
Control F. Vertex.
Now, if we can get back to dealing with things that I don't understand.
Wait, we had left.
We don't have that kind of time.
First, I need to change all of these GLs to be context. Because I don't have GL, I have context.
So, Wes, what other kind of restaurants do you recommend in downtown St. Pete? And then we can rub it in since freaking Ward had to leave
124 through 129. Right there at the beginning of the line.
Oh. Yes, I know there was a faster way to do that.
No, that was fine.
It wasn't for you, it was for other people. Okay. I have no idea what position buffer is. I have no idea what position location is. Text coord buffer. Text coord location. So presumably we'll figure those out at some point. Okay, the texture. Use of an implicitly declared global. No, it's not. It's right there. You dingleberry. Did I spell it? Texture. Yeah, it's texture. Texture. Oh, equals. Why not use IntelliJ? Because Visual Studio is the best programming environment ever. No, because I'm doing Blazor. And if I was going to do just JavaScript, I'd probably use WebStorm instead of IntelliJ. But even then, I think I'd still just use VS Code. It's a preference thing. I used to use WebStorm and PHP Storm and IntelliJ and all that stuff quite a bit. But when VS Code came out, it was like, eh.
Yeah, I'm switching out of WebStorm for VS Code for JavaScript.
All of these things should be... Oh, right.
I only
didn't
use
like his
VS
short
Code
versions.
anymore. Of course, I don't do significant program either.
Because it handles YAML quite well.
Yeah, it's really good at YAML.
That's so sad. Texture height.
No, I mean, occasionally I'll do a little bit in C# or JavaScript or whatever, but I'm not in there doing it all the time. So,
Yeah, I haven't done any Java in years, but if I were to do some Java, I would definitely fire up some IntelliJ.
Right.
Nothing better.
Okay, so I need to figure out what this position buffer is. This is the fundamentals, right? So,
And Freaking Ward declares that he likes the dirty, snow-filled streets of Indiana.
there's position buffer equals create buffer.
Ash, do you like the dirty, snow-filled streets of Columbus?
yep, especially when I have to stay home and I don't need
Extra
to see
dirty.
them.
It's the only way to go. Okay, so not var position, but position buffer. Okay, so now we have the position buffer. What else did we need? We need the position location.
So where did you figure that out? With the position
Exactly like
buffer
what
and-
I'm doing right now.
Uh-huh.
It does not exist in this document. Let me make sure. Position. Nope. But buffer does. If I do buffer. Just like that. Now they have one there, but I saw where it was like making one. Right here, create buffer. So,
So do you know what it's doing or
Nope.
what it's for?
nope, no idea.
Okay.
The plan is just to simply program and then a position. That's not helpful, I don't think. Get attribute location a position. It's always a position. Is a position defined in our
Blazor
things?
Mr. Magoo is definitely hacking and dropping some Visual Studio on you.
What's going on? Oh,
Hacking the drop game.
hey, cheating. Okay, so I do not see a position in any of these. But since it is not passed in, and here they are doing it this way, and they're just passing in program and then literally the string a position, I'm going to assume that that'll work for me too. Position buffer, create buffer, program. Yeah, I'll just do that. Okay, so they made this thing before they did the position buffer, so I'll do the same.
Yeah, it's just a position. It's any old position.
Yeah,
Doesn't matter.
any position. This could be alpha position. I don't know. If it doesn't work, then I'll research why. I want to understand what all this is anyway, but right this second. We're just trying to make something work. So now we've got text coord buffer. And again,
We're currently
we go
43 minutes into the stream.
Shut up.
Clayton, Clayton said we could swap out Canvas for WebGL.
Hey, the first
and
step.
still
The
have
first
time
step was
left
sweet.
over.
Boom, there it is. Okay, so bind buffer, array buffer, text coord buffer, create buffer. It's just another create buffer. Fantastic. Okay. So we'll just add that down here like this. Text coord buffer and context. The thing is, once it's working, it'll just work.
Yeah.
That's usually
The
how that works.
the canvas did seem a little
Text coord location is probably in the same.
heavy. I don't know, clunky. That's maybe the right word.
Yeah, well, it has a simpler interface, but that's because it is designed for simpler purposes. We're
Right.
making a video game framework that needs to be able to handle, stuff. Oh, look, a text coordinate. It's just that easy. You just ask for a of whatever you want, and there it is.
So you're Stack Overflow programming right now.
Oh, it's so much worse than that. I'm not even reading it. I am literally like, what'd they do? Copy paste, and I'm not copy pasting the whole thing. I'm just grabbing pieces.
That's not how you Stack Overflow.
Well, when I Stack Overflow, I normally grab the whole thing. Now this M4, unfortunately, I think is an external library. I think it's a matrix library, so we'll have to look that up.
You want me to do that?
Sure. Matrix location. It's Matt. Look, U matrix. I don't know what's going on now.
No, you matrix.
Now I'm lost. I just don't know. These probably shouldn't all be defined technically in the global scope, but yeah, whatever.
Clayton, you had a Zune, didn't you?
A Zune?
Yeah.
No. I had, did we already? Didn't we do that one? Texture location? Oh, wait, text coord location.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Nameless coder. We're in management, so we're we're just watching Clayton work.
They're supervisors. I don't need any help stepping on my toes. I can step on my own toes just fine. As John mentioned before, they are here for moral support. Okay, so we need M4. You got that figured out yet, John? Ash? Nope. Okay.
Maybe. I'm guessing. Can you here? Let me just put it in chat.
It's not
I'm
there.
guessing it's this, but it's just a guess.
Oh, look, here it is right here. Boom.
Oh, there it is.
Boom. So easy.
I mean, X rotation, Z rotation, X rotation. These aren't the functions I need. I need orthographic. M3,
No,
M4.
ignore what I sent too. That was not it. It's the first thing I came up with.
I would probably go with an M5.
Just in case.
Yep.
It has, but the stuff and the things. Oh wait, but that's a that. We need 2D matrices.
We need 2D matrices.
Yeah, so we need to get this M4 wherever it is.
Nope. I just saw M3 there. Search M4.
Yeah. Aw. Nowhere. Okay. Go back. Orthographic. Stuff and things. Can I find There it is right there. There it is. Why they defined it like that, I have no idea. So for now, we'll just throw it in there.
Yeah, not important. Just paste it.
That's what I'm saying. Except for that's a Vertex definition, so it needs this. No, it doesn't. Right? Does it? No.
Does it hurt?
Oh, we're missing a thingy. Okay, there we go. Now everybody's happy. Okay, so that's orthographic. What else we got? Translate. Let's complain about over here. Variable infor is used in interscope before. Oh, stupid. Fine, and we'll move it up. There. Be that way. Alright, so now we need translate and scale, which are likely also defined. Where did it go up?
Acknowledge it, Clayton.
What?
Acknowledge it.
Yeah, totally. Finally noted the code that computes the matrix.
We'll have
Similarly,
time left
well,
over to do some really cool stuff. It'd be great.
I didn't say anything about cool. Da da da, da da da. Look, and then
So
it's just gonna do multiply.
So was your Zune
scale.
brown or?
I didn't have a Zune. I had the iPod that was like an inch wide and 2 or 3 inches tall, and it had the little wheel.
Yep.
I don't know what it was called, but you know, one of those.
Get reset hard.
Who said that?
Blazor Mr. Magoo said 3 hours later, get reset hard.
Never.
See, I never do that. I just get stash and just never pop.
Then we
It's-
need
it's there.
Well, jeez Louise, look at this.
Just
Look
gonna
at
ignore
that
it.
thing. Look at that.
I'm sure it's fine. Just paste it.
That's what I'm doing. Multiply. Oh, yeah. I mean, we're good.
You just want to see if maybe this is in GitHub. You can just pull in his file and be done with it.
I think it is. No. Translate scale. Yeah, we did that. Okay, so that function should technically work. However, we need to get the texture now. So if we go back over to non-orthographic, if we go back over to... No. Yeah, draw image. So text, and then here, let's load some textures. So he has this function, which is load texture, which we've got a load texture thing somewhere. I can't find it because of all this expanded junk. Initialize, render, clear, load content.
Can you create like a region or something like that? You could clamp all that stuff down in.
No, it's JavaScript, no regions. Okay, so here is where I am doing what I would consider loading the texture. So if we look at this, it's load image and create texture for URL, and we are in fact receiving the content path and the root directory, so that's our URL, right? So I'm gonna drag this where you guys can't see it, but it's there in spirit.
We believe you.
And we believe in you.
Right.
I don't know. That does seem like it's going a little far.
var texture equals context dot create texture, context bind texture, context texture 2D, yep, and then texture. Okay, so I think all this bind stuff is just like, okay, this is the thing I'm working with for right now. We're not actually like, we're just saying this is the thing I'm working on. Okay, context. Well, I'm just going to copy that. Let's assume all images are not a power of 2. So basically not assuming that they are a power of 2 is what this stuff does. I don't know how it does it, but that's what it's doing apparently. Oh, clamping. Okay, so it's good. What doesn't make any sense to clamp it to a power of 2? I don't know, whatever. Okay, so we get the texture info. And that's going to be a width of 1, height of 1, and a texture. Okay, that's simple enough. So this is actually pretty similar to the way that I am doing stuff when the image loads. Because I'm setting the width and the height, and that's there. The only difference is I'm assuming that content will have the data already. Because I'm saying content equals image. Okay, so that kind of actually still falls in line with what I was doing. So then image, and then image add event listener for load, which is the same thing as on load. Okay, and then texture is not using the URL yet that I can see. Where is he using the URL? I know you guys can't see it right this second, but oh, come on. Is he? He's not in this function. He's receiving the URL, but then he's not using it. Now I'm having to set the image source, which is where I'm putting the URL. And I assume that in his code sample, he just missed that part.
I would imagine, yeah. And probably new image.
No, you don't do it in new image. You have to set the source. It's, yeah, but whatever. Okay, so all right. Well, that worries me. Well, because we've basically been treating his stuff as gospel truth, but he's got things that just aren't working. Is ready false. Okay, so I'm just going to copy some of the metadata that I'm using into this texture info. Width 1, height 1, texture, that's fine. So this would actually be content if I were to consider it the same as what I've been doing, I think. And then down here, instead of setting the content is ready, we would set texture info is ready. The texture info width is the... Oh, dang it. No. Okay. That has to be there. This can just be... This will remain texture. Alright. Texture info height. Content height. Resolve. Content.
Blazor, Mr. Magoo, at the end of this, I'm not sure what we get. Do we get back to where we started?
Yeah. So if this draw image section works as expected, then we would still have exactly what we had before, but smoother and much more capable of handling more entities on the screen, with the ability to have tinting and lighting effects and all kinds of stuff added fairly easily. That's the goal. Contact on angles image, return result.
Yeah, I think it's the right move to make. It's just
Result is new. Oh, so we wouldn't resolve content. We would resolve texture info. Right, like that. Yes, except for we need to get the texture, which he is doing here. So, context bind texture, texture 2D. To what are you smoking, dude? Text. Where is he getting text from? Text is the created texture that we bound to earlier. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Texture. So we're just going to bind to the same texture that we've already stored in the texture info from earlier, because this is all happening asynchronously. So technically we would have lost the binding from before, because we don't know what else might have bound in the in-between time. And then context text image. That's annoying. 2D.
Chuck Jr., thanks for the follow. Appreciate it.
Alt text texture. 2D. 0. Context RGBA. Context RGBA. There's only two of them. Why is there only two of them? Context unsigned byte. And then image. Yes. And then do we need, maybe we don't need that now. Maybe I was doing that and I don't really need to do that, because I could just say image. Right? Okay, so we're going to resolve with the texture info. So whenever we call load content, we're going to pass back the result, which will be the texture info, which contains the width, the height, and the texture, and whether or not it's ready. Okay. And then he's basically just calling that over and over again, which we're already calling that. But when we call that, load content, current document. Okay, it's only done the one time. It's going to resolve, and it's going to pass this stuff. Does it need to be jammed into... because when we create everything, we create contents, which I believe... Contents filter... Now before we were modifying the actual content that we were receiving, so this texture info needs to actually be, it does need to be content. Okay. So, right. So we can say... Yeah, content dot is ready equals false content dot width equals 1, content height equals 1, and content texture equals texture. That replaces all of that junk, and then instead of content, and that's, I believe that's what we were returning in the first place anyway, so yes, that should be correct. Okay, so that's going to take our registered content. Yeah, content is ready false. Okay, so I don't actually need to set that in the load content as an advanced thing. Register content. It's false, name, path, position, contents.length, contents push content. Okay, yeah, so we will just look in contents for the thing that we want to draw, as opposed to texture infos, which is what they're doing here. So, okay. That should be fine now, assuming that the code is good enough. Okay, so now we've got this draw image. We need to convert that to the draw texture. So name, XY color. Okay, so we're going to ignore color. But content is going to be the name, yeah. Okay, and then sprite equals content, and then just draw it. So we can actually...
Oh, I was gypped. Just sliding down the wall.
Yep, it happens. We can actually take the body of all that junk up there and put it here, or we can translate what we get here and then call this, and I'm more inclined to call this, I think. So let's do that. Okay, so we get the content, and then instead of doing this junk, we're going to say ns.drawImage content texture, content width, content height, X, Y, and 1. See, I don't have a color right now, so we'll just ignore the color, which I think we have to do anyway. We cannot do this one yet. So let's hope that this is the one that is more often used. And to make John happy, I'll throw in an extra equals.
It's about time.
Okay, let's
been there
see.
the whole time.
Let's see if that does anything, or if we get errors or something like that. Why does it just randomly decide? Okay, so see, it's requesting the images. That part at least is what we want. Syntax error. 334. Console log. Oh, why am I get shader info log shader? Okay, so that's telling me that's in create shader, so that would be a thing telling me
That the shader
that
is
the
failing?
shader is broken. Okay, but the image loading is working. So you can see we're loading the paddle and the ball and the 10-point brick. Those are all actually being called, and the asset is being logged out. So in one of these shaders, it is saying that it doesn't like the square brace, but there's no square brace, right?
Well, stop putting it in there.
It's not. I swear if these shaders are the thing that stops me from being able to get this done. Wait, and then we just delete the shader? We log the shader? And if success, return
if
shader.
it's success, yeah.
Otherwise, log out
Yep.
what went wrong and then delete it. Okay. Okay. So the fact that it's logging means that, yeah, that didn't work at all.
Something's broken.
Error 01. So right off the bat, it is not happy with the thing. So I am going to run this as which one is it trying to load? Let me log that out too. Well, I guess both of them are failing because it logged twice, didn't it? Console log. Source. Create shader type. Create shader source. Shader source.
What shader's info are you using?
I'm using in the draw image thing, he has these two shaders at the very top here. And I'm just trying to create script tags that can be the source for that. And I set the inner text because I figured that's...
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
I could be wrong that would work at all, but let me see what this says now.
I mean, his he can, if you go down to the bottom of that tutorial, you can export his code into like something like JS Fiddle or whatever, and see it working. So,
Where?
scroll down to the bottom. Right
These
there.
these things.
Yeah, you can click on export and then.
Yeah, so he's got.
And then export it into like JS Fiddle or something like that, and you can see it working.
Yeah, so the thing is, he's got his shaders here.
Yep.
Like there are script tags.
They're script tags.
Oh, and look at that. Type X shader X fragment, which is not what he had in the other stuff. I don't think that will fix it, but X shader.
One's an X fragment
And
the
one's
other
X vertex, yeah.
X vertex.
X shader / X fragment and X shader / X vertex. It just given the error that I'm getting, I really doubt that would be the solution to my problems, but yeah, so script type X shader X vertex, still complaining. And if you see, I mean, it is all on one line. I don't know why that would matter. But it looks like an appropriate script tag, don't it? I can... Here, so instead of
Wait,
running
go back.
these...
Go back for a second.
What's up?
I was the curly at the end was throwing me.
Oh, yeah, that's part of the... From here to there. Okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm going to create it, and then instead of returning it, well, first I'm gonna get rid of that, and then instead of returning it, I'm going to say document dot append script. And then same, what? Why did that jump over? Whatever. Same thing for this. We can't, so this will be... var script Vertex Shader. I don't know. Why did it do that? Stop it. Oh, you're a terrible person. There. Okay.
It's not actually a person, so you're right.
Who said I was talking to it? Fragment shader. No return. Okay, so that should effectively jam it right onto the document, and then I can say oh no, yeah, wrong one. Then I could come up to here on initialize before we do these things, so instead of that it would be document dot get element by ID, and we'll just say Vertex Shader.
And lo and behold, you need the ID.
Yeah. I realized yeah. You didn't have to point it out. I appreciate it though.
Oh, but I did have to point it out.
Vertex Shader, okay. And then ID equals Vertex Shader. Fragment shader. And then let's see what happens. I don't know why I stopped it. I didn't need to stop it. Well, that's something. DOM exception failed to execute append on document. Only one element on document allowed. What? What does that mean? Can I not append a script tag to the document? This seems not correct. JavaScript, append script tag. Oh, to body maybe? Do I need to do it to the body? Append child. Append. Well, there. We'll do that. Same thing here. There. Now let's try it. Well, it's good to know that that we get the same error. Okay, so it's got to be a formatting error then, right?
It's very strange, for sure.
Okay. Just because I'm going to grab both of these things. I'm going to copy them. I'm going to delete them from here. That's not working anyway. And then I'm going to go to pages. No, not index. Razor.
Oh yeah, just put it there.
Yeah, I'm just going to physically append them to the deal.
Let's do it.
Just like that. And then, of course, I'm going to change the name to be the thing that I need it to be. Okay, and that is literally the only thing I've changed. So let's see what that does. I believe that part should get updated.
They're there.
They're there.
Same syntax error.
Yeah, and it's updated. I mean, it's all spaced out and stuff.
Yep.
Okay, so this is happening when... Okay, so technically what I was doing was working.
Yes.
So then I'm going to reverse
yeah,
that.
everything we had is good enough.
It was doing no less than if I had
Yep.
physically appended them. So not going to bother physically appending them because I don't want the user to have to do that whenever we get to that point. There we go. Okay, so back to this. So this appears to be at least doing what we expect it to do.
Yep. In fact, you didn't even have to go to that attach and attach to the body and all that if you didn't want.
So let's, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So now you don't have to care about the ID anymore.
Ha!
So you're both right.
No. In this case, I'm right. It doesn't really matter, though, because the code is not working, so...
so you're essentially right.
Correctness is not helpful.
So nobody's right.
So it would seem.
Yeah, after an hour and 22 minutes.
We'll have plenty of time to do cool stuff. In case anybody was wondering.
So, chat, for those of you following along, an hour and 22 minutes ago, Clayton declared that this shouldn't take any time whatsoever to swap out Canvas for WebGL, and we'll have plenty of time left over to do some cool stuff.
We totally will.
Stay tuned.
Okay. It's out of curiosity. Well, I guess I can't. I'm using program for stuff, so I can't just not have program. Okay, what are we doing? Shader sources. Compile shader. It's got to be something in compile shader. So
Yep.
I'm going to say, or compile status. I'm going to look for shader syntax error with just the square brace on 0.1. This has got to be something that people have seen, like that exact error. Come on, internet.
Not
Shader
on Bing.
compiler.
No, not on Bing though.
Yeah, on Bing. Look, it was like the second thing. Yeah, they had a shader, and then it goes boom, and they're like, what? Except for they got a blank, but that's fine, whatever. I'm trying to compile. This is what a shader. You don't show the code. You're using a compiled box and my stuff. Thanks for the response. Hopefully, it provide. Really amazes me that people are that dumb. Jeez. Not helpful, people. Let's see. Webgl Shader.
Clayton said, "You want to see dumb? Hold my beer."
Give me a minute. I think I just clicked on... Well, no, I clicked on the Stack Overflow version. You can tell OS X to use a newer... Shut up!
You shut up.
Mr. Magoo says, "Try it in Firefox." Firefox report shader errors better. Chrome misreports.
Do I have Firefox? I do. I have all the things. I just don't use them. Hey, now. No. Advanced. Accept.
Much better. What is happening?
Working like a champ. Apparently I have an invalid regex group. In the Blazor source code.
So, by the way, and I don't know what he's doing, but in his JS fiddle, he uses this webutils get create program from scripts.
Where are you at?
I exported his at the end of his demo or tutorial to just JS fiddle, and then to set up program, he uses create program from scripts on web.
Yeah.
WebGL utils.
Yeah. It's just the next step from this create program thing here.
Right.
I think.
Wait, what I'm wondering is if his code though is correct.
If he did a thing.
Right, and then what he's using in the demo is he's using the corrected code, not the code that's in the write up.
Yeah. Let me
See you, Blazor, Miss Merku. Have a good one. Have a good night.
No, don't go. Create program from scripts. Can we get to that? Yeah, then it's just doing that. What's it look like? Let me see how many times I can find this on the screen. Not there. A few times.
What screen are you searching, looking, doing?
All of it. You know
Not
how
on
to do.
this one we can see.
Oh, all of it. Yeah, I saw the create from scripts.
So
earlier, but
yeah, what I did is I went in, and if you click in that little box, you can say like export, and then I
where? Oh, here.
Yeah, export, and then you can like click on like JS fiddle or something else, and then it'll open that up in.
Right, but his
But yeah, if you look on line 17 on the JS part,
it's going to be here.
Yeah. So you see, you can use the script. You can see the scripts that he's pasting in there, and then oh, that's even better.
inspect elements. What am I doing? I just need to go here and look at what
Yes.
that does.
Just get that.
Ba, 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 ba. Create. Come on. Create shader from script. GL script ID. Opt shader type. Opt error callback. Get document if shader script. Shader source. Script.text. And then he's probably doing the rest of the stuff. Because here it's GL shader source. GL shader load shader. My word, dude. Just all over the place. GL create shader. GL shader source is shaders. Okay. Yeah. All I has to do is say source.text.
Yep.
You're like, yep, like you knew it the whole time.
No, but no, I agree. I was agreeing with the conclusion you came to.
Okay, so that got rid of the shader error. We got a half an hour. What are you talking about? We got tons of time. Okay, so no more shader error. Also, no more anything drawn on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
So let me look because let me close this. I don't want this. Close. We should nothing because it's happening in a asynchronous Blazor thing. Okay. Let me see if any of these are being called. Console log. Draw sprite. Console log draw texture. And clear. Now we know clear screen was working. But now it's just taking a poop. Where it's not even getting to the first. So I have to assume that somewhere in the initialize it is failing. Initializing. Not even getting that far. But it has to get that far. It can't get anywhere else if it doesn't get that far. Like, it can't do anything if it doesn't get this far. And it was definitely getting that far earlier. At least I would believe it was. Initializing. Okay. Okay, so not in the index, but in the index razor, we load the ball, we load the 10-point brick, we load the paddle, and then we start the breakout game. So it's running initialize. I think it is getting through with some of this stuff, but I think that Oh, hey, look at that. Could that be the problem? Let's see what happens. Hey, draw sprite, clear screen. We're not seeing anything yet, but it is now executing functions. And the reason why we're not seeing anything is because draw sprite instead of draw texture. And we implemented draw texture, we have not implemented draw sprite. So we can get rid of that. Get rid of that. We have our draw image still. We have our draw texture. Oh, well, they both say draw sprite because I'm stupid. But I'm willing to bet that this is the one that is actually being called. Okay, so same deal. We get the content. We don't need this. Right, we don't need that. Now, the next aspect that we need to do is the next part of the tutorials. Yeah. So, come on, back. Hey, back to the top. Get your buns up there. Okay, implement. So, the first one was just this. It was just draw image XY. Now that that's working, he makes a little demo, and he says, "Oh, well, now we have this one." So the changes that we need to make to this are obviously we need to add the new variables. We need to check and see if they're undefined. Yeah, and they're at the end, so that would work. We need a scale matrix. And is that it? I think that's it. Okay, so let's do that. So, destination Y, and then...
So this is just for scaling up the image, right?
Yes.
So the first one's like drawing the image in a specific location. The second one is drawing an image in a specific location.
Yeah.
We can now scale it or shrink it, potentially.
This may not actually be the one that we want. We're doing draw image. We're taking in the left, the top, the right. Okay, the left, the top. That's the starting position. The ending position. Then we're setting the bottom and the right. So we're saying make it this big. So that's this part.
Yes.
Then we're saying whether or not to flip it.
Yep.
And then we're setting
that's
the
the color.
The width and the height. Now you see here, right here. So that's the sprite height.
Oh, I see.
That's the sprite width, depending on whether we flip it or not. And again, depending on whether we flip it or not. This is a much more complicated version. Does he get to that version? Draw image, source X, source Y, source width, source height, destination X, destination Y, destination width, destination height. I think that's this one. Image, source X, source Y, source width, source height, destination X, destination Y, destination width, and destination height. So that's technically the one we need to do. Okay, so we'll do they're all steps.
Yeah,
so we'll start with
go through the steps.
One,
yeah.
And then we'll add until we get to where we want to be. Okay, so destination width, destination height.
I was just from my own mental conception was trying to understand what the step was that we were adding, and it seems like
me too.
This is adding the ability to stretch that image out.
If destination width undefined. But you can't say if not, because it could be 0. So you actually have to check for undefined. Then destination width equals texture width. If destination height equals undefined, then destination height equals texture height. Okay, and then we come down to projection matrix. Projection. Well, I don't have that at all. He's got bind texture. Okay, ... And then this matrix will convert from the pixels to a clip space. Did we add a clip space at any point? See here, he's got this. This is version 1. And version 1 has bind buffer, enable vertex array, bind buffer, enable stuff, orthographic view, translate scale, uniform matrix, uniform 1i, li, I don't know. And then draw arrays. And then we come down here. Okay, what is all this? Let's draw them at random place. So that's just a demo. Then we come down here. It's really no different. We just use destination width and destination height instead of text width and text height. So even though this code is completely different, he's saying ignore that. We're just changing those. So instead of texture width and texture height for scale, M4 scaling, and we have M4 scale, but it's basically the same thing. He did a hot swap on us and he didn't tell us. That's fine. Destination width and destination height, not that, height, destination height. So that should scale it to the appropriate thing. Yeah, and he added all this extra stuff that he hasn't explained. I updated the code to use different sizes. Click to reload. Yeah, and you can see different sizes of things. Squished and unsquished. Okay, let's see if we can detect the real difference in his draw image here. Load. Draw info, texture info. On update, draw image. There it is. Okay, if dest width, if dest height, bind, use program. Okay, so we're all copacetic to that point. Bind buffer, array buffer, yep. Enable vertex attrib array, yep. Vertex attrib, bind buffer, enable vertex attrib, M4 orthographic, yep. Translate, yep. Scale, yes, and destination width, destination height. Uniform matrix 4, yep. Uniform 1i, yes. And draw arrays. Okay, so the code that's actually executing here is not different from what we have. It's only different in this piece. So maybe this is outdated. I'm hoping he would update his actual code sample before he updated the thing. Anyway, okay, so now we need to do the next version, the third version, before we can actually use it in our sprite draw. So let's add a texture matrix to the vertex shader and multiply the texture coordinates by this texture matrix. Okay, so we need to go to the vertex shader. That's this one. And then after uMatrix,
So this next step is to give us the ability to only display a certain portion of that.
yes, I believe, to clip
Yeah.
certain pieces, because it's destination X, destination Y, destination width, destination height, with a source and everything. So we're grabbing a piece of the image, and then displaying it on the whole of a texture or a space. Uniform mat 4, not mat 5. Texture matrix. Okay, so we added it, and then we need to add GL position. V text chord does not equal a text chord anymore. It equals, I'm pretty sure a asterisk would really mess this up. U texture matrix times a vector 4 of a text chord 0, 1, close paren, XY. Whatever that does. Now we need to look up the location for the texture matrix. So we go back to where we're defining a whole bunch of weird stuff, and way up here. And we get to create a new one of these, which is just going to be texture matrix location, context. So many things that I don't understand. This is a big old long tutorial, and I do want to read through it, but I wanted to make stuff work first. That should be being used. Yeah. Well, it was being assigned, but I guess it's not being actually used. And then inside the draw, we need to add some more junk. So after... Oh, if... Because we're adding it before the destination width stuff. So if destination X undefined. So he's got great texture width, texture height, and then immediately we go into source X, source Y, source width, source height, destination X, destination Y, destination width, and destination height. Okay, so destination X, if that's undefined, then X equals source X, and source X equals 0. If
It's almost like they've never heard of objects before.
yeah, it's JavaScript. If destination Y equals undefined, then destination Y equals source Y, and source Y equals 0. So what we're creating here is an override for the draw image function. So basically, if certain things aren't defined, then we downgrade to an earlier version of the function by replacing the variable names with other things. Or the variable values. If source width is undefined, then source width equals texture width. If source height undefined, then source height equals texture height. Yes. Then we come down here to if destination width, then we're going to set destination width equal to source width. And we're going to set source width equal to texture width. And then same thing here. Instead of texture height, source height, and source height becomes texture height. Okay, that's straightforward enough. Okay, so after the uniform matrix 4, down right here, then we're going to insert this, which will create a texture matrix, scale it, and then apply it to the uniform matrix 4. Okay, except for source X, texture width, source Y, texture height, hello, source height, texture width, source width, nope, text matrix. It's a Texan. M4.translation, and it's saying,
Yeah.
are we doing translation? No, we're doing translate. So we might need to.
Oh, that might need to change. Yeah, and then 29 or 293 needs to be on context.
Yeah.
Let me check his code.
Yeah, I really just need to know if translation is the same as translate. Well, and really we can
M4
check.
translation. No, it's M4 translation is different.
Different thing, huh?
Yeah. Here you go. Let me post this in chat. If you pull that up, I think you should be able to get the M4 translation.
Makes a translation.
So, chat, for those of you following along at home, we are a little less than 10 minutes away from pumpkin time. At the top of the broadcast, Clayton said this should be relatively quick and easy to swap out canvas for WebGL.
I feel like
and
it
then
has been.
we would have some more time at the end to do some cool stuff. So appreciate everybody hanging out with us and hanging in there. I am really looking forward to the cool stuff.
Is there still time? What is mat type and where does it come from?
Good question.
Float 32 array. I mean, I'll probably borrow this library at some point, but...
Right.
Okay, so that should make that believe that it can compile. It is no longer complaining, so that's good. Okay, so 3D textures, 2D draw image. All right. Yeah, I see. So now you can see that he's drawing pieces of images.
Yep.
Okay, so now I just need to replace this context draw image. Well, for one, I don't need to scale. I don't need those. Or do I?
Yep.
Sprite width equals right minus left. Sprite height equals bottom minus top. Yeah, that's fine to have.
Yes. Still need those.
I would not have context draw image. I would have NS draw image. And then it wouldn't be sprite. It would be content dot texture. And then I would not have scale. I don't think.
And if you're going to keep sprite width and sprite height, would you not want to reuse those?
Here.
Yep.
I think we've had this conversation before, and I think that before I had said that they were there for a different purpose,
Yep.
but I don't care at this point, so whatever. I also don't know why. Well, I know why. It's because the other game caused me to do some of this stuff.
Yes.
Oh, well, it was this. It was all that. Yeah. And I just threw it in because if it's provided, then might as well. All right, let's see what happens. It's going to get mad at me. Yep. Yeah. Close all the things. It gets real jealous when you use its window for other things. Okay, good. Draw sprite is not being called. So were we in fact calling draw texture the whole time?
We were in fact.
Ins draw image. That should function based on stuff. So
This is getting exciting, folks. We're in our last 5 minutes. What do you think?
Let's just verify that that's what we were doing.
Hey, we're within about 2 minutes. We had it drawing this gray block, and then we're back to that. So
Progress. Okay, so draw texture is definitely the thing being drawn. You know what I haven't seen? Are we supposed to be requesting? Yes, request animation frame is still the thing to do. Okay. And we're doing that. Look at how fast that's going, though. That is
I
zooming.
was gonna say performance-wise, though.
I mean, in theory, it's trying to do the thing. The question is, why is it not doing the thing? Presumably, I have the bits that this person has. So let's pop this open in a export to code pen. Okay, so we've got a canvas, check. We've got our shaders, check. As far as I can tell, the shaders are being imported. And then he is loading his WebGL utilities and his M4JS. Now we have copied the important bits from those two things, I believe. So let's go over here to, and if it doesn't work in just a second, I will literally add these two scripts to the page and then very much so copy this code, but I want to look through it first. Just make sure that we're not doing anything totally stupid. Git canvas, WebGL. If not WebGL, then return. Well, I'm pretty sure I'm not doing that part, but initialize, get context, yep, WebGL. And, okay, so program equals create program from scripts, draw image vertex shader, draw fragment shader. We're going about it the long way, but in theory, this is doing the exact same thing that he's doing. That's what it looked like in the code. We looked at the code. Position location again. So this is basically what we ended up doing. It was like, well, we don't know where to do these, so let's just do them in what is effectively the global scope. So we've got position location, texture coordinate location, matrix location, texture matrix location, and texture location. Position buffer. And then... Okay, well, we're not doing this. We didn't do that immediately. And put a unit of quad in the buffer, and we didn't do that. So let's try that. So position buffer. And then context bind buffer. Context array buffer. Position buffer. Var positions equals empty array 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1. I have no idea what those do. Okay, and then context dot buffer data array buffer new float 32 array positions, and then context static draw. Okay, and then, okay, so text coordinate buffer, and then basically doing the exact same stuff. So, I'm just going to copy paste.
Oh, I'm sorry, we're out of time.
Well, you can go if you need to go. I understand. Okay, so paste that in. Context. 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 Coin text. In case you needed some extra money. Okay. And then after that, he starts.
Is CoinText going to be the new cryptocurrency that we start project here?
Then he starts his functions with this load image and create texture info, which we have our own version of that. And then, yeah. And then here's this game. Or, you know, animation. And then an update for the animation, and then a draw for the animation. And all he's doing for the draw is updating values, setting the values, and then starting the game loop. And then he has this draw image, which we should have copied fairly correctly. And then he runs the main function. So that's so we just changed the only things that really we didn't have. So if I save, then maybe it is getting a bit bogged down. Look at that. Started to slow down. You can only have so many. Okay. Kill it. Play it. Doesn't like the console logs. Is it broke even more now? Yep.
That could be a good sign, though.
How would that be a good sign?
Well, it wasn't working beforehand.
Oh, it doesn't like this. Use of an implicitly declared global variable. Paustian buffer. position buffer. There. We had a boom boom. I don't know why I stopped it. Just felt like the thing to do.
Okay.
Still nothing. Okay.
Still nothing.
Well, looks like I will be messing with this in the future. I'm not rolling it back, though. We have the WebGL context, and we are clearing it properly. I just have to figure out why it's not appropriately drawing the whatever.
Get reset hard.
Not doing it.
Get stashed.
No. This is the right move to make, I think. It makes sense.
It did look to be counting up a lot quicker.
Yeah, way quicker.
So it's performant.
What?
Especially when it doesn't render anything.
Yes, it wasn't doing anything, so super performant. But, yeah. Now, so the question is, what did I mess up? Right? Did I mess up? It's very possible that the draw function is working perfectly, but the thing that I messed up was the load content.
Yeah.
You know, like
possible.
what if what I did here is not valid?
Right.
So that'll be something that will have to be
Yeah, what you might be able to do is just like troubleshoot it by like putting some of his content in there or something like that, or something, or just like hard coding some content in there that we know is a valid.
I mean, I'll probably effectively recreate his demos using my shell. So, like, technically, Blazor can do whatever it wants to. Like, it can call whatever it wants. And I can make sure that none of that matters because I can just come down here to render and do whatever I want. Or, yeah. Is it render? Yeah, render's going to get called over and over again. And then I can do a thing. Instead of invoking this, I can just do whatever game loop stuff I want to do. So I'm itchy. I was taking out some weeds behind the house, and I think I got into some poison oak, so kind of sucks.
You got your calamine lotion?
We've got some anti-itch stuff that's supposed to be for that purpose.
Yeah.
I did have some calamine lotion, but I can't actually find it at the moment. Meh.
My mother also swears by, bathing with Fells naphtha soap. If you
with what?
It's a bar of soap called Fells naphtha, and it's you can find it in the laundry aisle of your it's like a bar of laundry detergent soap, and it really supposed to cut down on, it like strips oils. So it's like not something you should use all the time because your skin will hate you. But when you have like poison ivy, poison oak, the idea at least is that you can use that to get the poison oils off.
Bathe in Clorox. Yeah, I'm sure the oils are gone now.
Not
it's
Clorox.
just the oils are gone, but now I'm suffering the effects.
Well, so that's the thing, is usually the effects are there only because the oils are there, and it's really difficult to get the oils gone.
It is really difficult to get the oils gone, but they should be gone now.
All right. So are we done? Are we calling it?
You're done. Yeah, well, I don't want to keep you and Ash up, so I like at this point I need to eliminate the chance that anything else that I've done is causing stuff not to render. So I kind of need to break down his example and just run it. Like I said, like remove this part from render and basically jam in his example and add the extra functions for his example and stuff. And then if I can get anything to render, then I can walk back from there and figure out what I need to change. So, but it's at least partially working. Like the clear is working. If we go, I can save, and then if we go to...
Can't get anything to render. Can also clear stuff from rendering once it's been rendered.
Yeah,
It's
you know,
great.
the important stuff. If I go to Breakout Game and I look for Draw, first thing we're doing is we're clearing with a light slate gray. So if I come here and I say Cornflower Blue, and then I play, then this will be Cornflower Blue instead of light slate gray. So this part is working. And if it's slate gray, then I'm going to punch something. Okay.
Oh,
Ta-da!
man. I was really hoping for
Yeah, I'm sure
slate
you were.
gray.
Cornflower blue, though. So that part is working. We do have the WebGL context. We are able to execute commands on it. It's just somewhere in the pipeline, in my haste, I have done something wrong. And I just have to find out what that is and where it is. And because I was hasting, because I just came up with this idea 5 minutes before I came in here to start the stream. I didn't bother to read any of the code. I was just slapping code into the thing.
I think your initial or your gut sense that it could be in the load content. I think that's a pretty good shot.
Yeah,
because I think we like his code is working, and we have gone through our version of his code and whatnot. Seems pretty spot on. So
yeah,
at
except
least
for that,
the actual working spots.
Except for where is it? Except for the... Here it is. Except for I'm not calling this.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
I should be doing all the stuff that this is doing. So var text equals create texture. Texture equals create texture. And then bind texture. So we're binding the texture there. Same as what he's got. And then text image 2D. GL texture 2D. That's down there. But that's before he does all this parameter stuff. So I don't have this.
Wait, isn't that basically what you're doing in the image on load?
Yes, but he's doing it before what would be the image on load.
Okay.
At least that's what it looked like to me. So then.
Oh, and then he does it again.
Text
with...
parameter I, texture 2D, wrap S, clamp to edge.
There's the code where he actually uses the image, by the way, or the URL.
Where?
Later on down.
Well, I mean, because we could be missing that part too, because he didn't have it. Okay, so hold on. So, texture info width. So we're not using texture info, but that's because we already have a stand-in object. So we're using our stand-in object. Width 1, height 1, texture equals texture. Image equals new image. Event listener load. Now we're assigning a handler to onload. That should be the same thing. Function texture info width equals image width. Yeah, content width equals image width. content height equals image height. Bind texture.
Seems to be what we're doing.
Texture. Texture 2D 0 RGBA unsigned byte and image. Unsigned byte and image. Okay, let's scroll down a little bit. Now his onload. Well, he's not doing a promise. I'm doing a promise, so there's a little bit different there. And then request cores if not same origin image URL. Image source equals URL. So he's doing image source after the onload is subscribed to. So I can do that. No big deal there. And request cores if not. I don't think we have to worry about that part.
Yeah.
And then return texture info. So yeah, there aren't really any other differences other than I had to move this down.
Yeah.
And
And
then
you added that
he's just loading.
that one line on 230, but I'm not exactly sure what that's doing. But
What one line? Resolve? What? No, 230.
no, on 230, line 230, you added that we didn't have beforehand.
Yeah. That I don't know what that does. So let's. Well, I've already refreshed since then.
Yeah. Yes. Correct.
And nothing. And it's not rendering anything until it's already loaded all of these things. Because that's this console log asset name content. So that's getting called, and then it loads the screen. And I believe it's waiting for all these promises to finish.
Oh, okay.
That's what this part is.
Yeah, why isn't it calling textures right now?
What do you mean?
So I didn't see draw texture.
Oh, I took
Showing
out
up.
the. I took out the.
Oh, you took out. Got it.
I took out the
Got it.
log.
Okay. Got it.
Okay, so he's doing his load, and that gives him all his textures. This is just game code. It's not anything crazy. Draw infos on update. Draw infos for everything in draw info. He's going to update some stuff. And then for draw, he's going to resize the canvas to display size. That's something I'm going to want to do at some point. Viewport. He's setting the viewport. That's not something I'm doing. Clip space to pixels. Okay. This could be important. So let's go to clear. Let's call that a clear thing. So I need to be able to see it. Okay, so before we clear, we're going to say context.viewport 0, 0, context.canvas width and context.
Yeah.
Canvas.height. Oh, it has its own property. Height. Okay, so we weren't doing that, so that could have been a thing. And then for each one of these, he's getting the properties for the draw image, and then he's just drawing the image. And then 0. Render time, update draw. Request animation frame render. So that's the game loop. Nothing there. And then he's got his draw. Okay, so the last thing that's different that is obvious is this viewport call. If it's not the viewport call, then it's not obvious. And we will have to... Yeah. We'll have to wait to figure it out. So it was... We're doing this one, right?
Yes.
Which is the easy one. And if I refresh just to make sure that everything happened. Yeah. So, let's see. What are the possibilities? The possibilities are that we are in the incorrect draw space. So OpenGL, I believe, counts the other way around.
Oh.
OpenGL starts down here and goes that way, I believe. Whereas normally you would start here and go that way.
That could definitely be a problem.
It could be a problem for some things, but at least some of the objects I would expect would still be on the screen. They might be in the wrong place, but they'd be on the screen, I would think. Like the paddle, right? Like we're calculating the initial location of the paddle to be, no.
Yeah, it could be completely.
Yeah. How is he calculating position? Draw info.x plus equal direction of x times speed times delta time. So if it's less than 0, then the direction is +1. And if it's greater than the canvas width, then the direction is -1. This all sounds like normal.
Exactly. Yep.
That looks like normal. If it's greater than the canvas height, then -1. Yeah. So we should be getting effectively this same behavior then. Find texture, orthographic, translate, scale, uniform matrix 4, translation, scale, uniform 4, uniform line, blah, blah, and then the only thing left is that. Yeah. I'll have to try and get his actual program running via my process and then go from there. Because if I can get something to display, then I should be able to figure out what's gone wrong. And obviously the WebGL commands are working. It's just this draw code is not doing stuff. So I'll figure it out, but it doesn't look like I'm going to figure it out right now. So good night, all the people that are left. Thanks for
Right.
sticking it out.
Yeah, thanks everybody for hanging out with us. This has been Blazor Game Engine replacing Canvas with WebGL.
Replacing Canvas with nothing.
And a lesson in stating that we can get more done in the allotted time. That's pretty typical with developers. It's pretty typical with anybody, really. But we appreciate everyone hanging out. Please do like, subscribe, do all the things. We will be back on Monday at 6 p.m. for the live broadcast of the podcast recording. We will be back next Wednesday for live coding at 8 p.m. Eastern. So with that, we will say good night, everyone. Appreciate you hanging out, and we will raid our friend J Blow.